figured that it's a good idea that we looked into something new because we've been going through this for quite a while now. But first, I just want to show static. Like I want to show you how you can use a static variable in a different way. I found it very cool. So first I'm just going to create, some variables, a simple constructor, and then a main method. But I'm going to go it quite quickly because I don't want to waste too much time here. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start off with creating a couple of variables. Okay. And this is going to be an integer, and I will call it employee ID, and I will give a value of 0 to it. Okay, so now we have our variables, right? So let's make a very simple constructor, and this is public application. There we go. And within this, I'm not gonna put it as a default. I'm gonna put in some value because I want to show something really cool. Okay, so let's say string f name and string l name. And I just want to ask, do you guys know why I said f name and not first name? It will make in this constructor, I'm not going to say this first name equals to first name. Actually, what I'm going to do, because this f name is not equal to first name, the variable I have created. So I'm not gonna do this first name. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say first name equals to f name. So basically, what I'm saying that the variable I have created, string first name, is gonna be equal to f name, which is the string f name in the constructor. And I will follow the same as I did with the last name. Last name equals to l name. And then because I have a static employee ID, I want to showcase that I'm going to have, let's say I have first name, last name, but I'm not going to specify an employee ID for each and every person because that would be, a lot of code. So we could just use a static variable. And so I will say employee ID, and this is going to increment with 1. Which is why we're saying ++, right? And within this constructor, I'm gonna say system out. Actually, I'm not gonna use something called printf, which means that I am printing in a format, and I will explain what this is. So if I say percentage and s, this means that it is going to read f name. So if I say percentage s, this means that it's going to read a string, and the first string in our constructor is f name, so it is automatically going to read that. So let's say that the first name is, and it is going to be a percentage s, and then you guys know how to make a new line within system out. If I say \n, then that means that I'm creating a new line. But I guess it just depends on the situation, like how the code is and so on. It's not always efficient to use \n, but I'm going to do it in this case just to showcase. And let's say last name, right? And I will say percentage s again, because this is going to read in the second string value in the constructor. So the first one is going to the second one is going to read the last name. Employee ID, right? We want to see the employee ID. So let's create a new line and say employee ID is. And for int, because employee ID, I have to say %d. Sorry. There we go, %d. So this is going to read in integer value, or I think it is defined like that. And then we have to separate it with a comma. When you use format, when you use printf, we don't have to say we don't have to say plus first name, right? We can do that, but we can also type in comma first name. That works too, because we are printing in a format printf. Yeah, Moses, I will go through it again. I don't know exactly the definition. I didn't go through it that well, but this %s basically means when I say it within this constructor, so I am saying system out in this constructor, right? So I have two string variables, string f name and string l name. And in system out, I am saying %s, and that means that it is going to read in the first string value. You see first name equals to f name, it is read in this. And the second one is basically the second string value or variable. Does that make sense? All right, cool. And Fahim, it may not be you only. I have some internet problem at times. It's really nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. But I will go through everything again if necessary, or if you don't understand anything, or if you can't hear anything. So now that we have in our system out, okay, so we have said that the first name is %s. Then we're specifying that we want to create a new line with \n. And we're saying last name, again, %s to read in the last name value variable. And then I'm saying new line again, and I'm saying employee ID is %d, which is the int value, which is basically employee ID. And then with a comma, I can put a comma, and then I can say, I'm going to put first name, this first name, and this last name after comma, just by typing in, really typing in first name, last name, comma, and employee ID. Same by, I'm not exactly sure if D means double, but I know for sure that if I say %d, it's going to read in, yeah, okay. I'm not sure though. Maybe it is digit. So basically, this is going to make a lot more sense when I go into the main method. I just want to show you something really cool. I don't know exactly. You know, we have been going through that. We have to create constructors and methods, or we can create the constructors in a different class than the main class. But I'm just going to keep this whole application in one single class to just kind of showcase it, to make it simple. So within this constructor, within this class, I can just say, actually, I don't type it. I'm not typing the main the constructor with these brackets, right? So after the brackets, I'm gonna type in MA and control space. So I'm creating a main. I'm basically creating a main here, right? So I don't need to have another class. I guess if you work in real life or for practice purpose, it is good that you have the main method in another class, because your code might be getting a lot more complicated. But I'm just showing you like this to say that possible. Sorry, guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna create an object, and I'm gonna call the class. So how do we create an object? That's pretty straightforward, right? So I'm gonna say application, because application is the name of the class. And then I'm gonna give a object name. Let's call it employee. And then we're gonna say new application. And because we have a constructor with two variables, I have to specify two values within this new object which I have created in the main class, right? So I'm gonna say my name, Ibrahim, and then Khan. And I'm done. And what I'm trying to showcase here is basically, since I have given this int employee ID a static value, I'm just saying employee plus plus. And when I run this application, you can see that it says the first name is Ibrahim, last name Khan, and employee ID is 1. So let's create another object. Let's say application employee 2. Let's call it employee 2 and say new application, right? And I'm gonna give it another name. Let's say OB1 and last name is Kenobi, right? So I have created another object and I am saying basically Obi-Wan Kenobi. And let's run it and see what happens. You see it says the first name is Obi-Wan Kenobi, last name Kenobi, and the employee ID is 2. So the first employee ID was 1 and the second employee ID is 2. I don't have to type in every time, oh, this is employee 1 or this is employee 2. Just by simply using a static variable, we can do something like this. Let's copy and paste this, and let's rename this to something else. Darth Vader, okay? And let's see what happens. I'm gonna rename the object. And Darth Vader has an employee ID of 3. So this is how you can use a static variable, and the main showcase of this practice was the %s and %d. And to use this, you have to use printf, which is print format. And another thing you have to remember is when you use print format, you can use comma. You don't have to use plus. If it was print line, I would have to say plus, or I can use plus in this case. But this is, can we write this out other way that we are used to? You mean in the main method? Sorry, can you elaborate? Oh, the other way, yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. Let's try, okay? Let's see what happens. It's out. And you mean basically first, that I type in first name, last name like that, right? I'm not exactly sure. I guess we can try, but I don't want to focus too much on it. If you want, you guys can take a screenshot of this and recreate this as your own, and then I guess just kind of play around with it. I'm sorry, I cannot answer that question. But this is just something I found really cool. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Unmuted.
All right. You can hear me, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So here you have your static. You have employee ID as static, right? So
Yeah.
whenever you create a new employee, that employee's ID is gonna go up, right, by 1, right? So
Yeah.
now you created 3 employees, right? So if you were to get the employees to employee ID, it's not gonna print out 2, right? It's gonna print out 3 since it's static. So you see the issue here, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so like my comment is that when you're when you're declaring something static, make sure it's like it relates to like that would it would relate to something that would be subject to change, right? So like a better example would have been like the number of employees or employee count or something like that, right? Employee ID, every employee is gonna have their own unique employee ID, right? So that's why that was just my question for this. That was just my comment for this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. We're still pretty new, so
Yeah,
obviously there's gonna
but
be a
this
lot of
was a good
mistakes. But
example of
yeah,
using the static variable, So that's
yeah,
so as long as you're like showing like the purpose of the static and whatnot, so it was still good. And the printf thing, that is my first time learning this as well. So good stuff.
oh, that's cool. All right, thank you, Fahim. So I'm just gonna keep it that simple. I'm not gonna go into constructors, methods, and so on. I actually want to talk about something new, which is a scanner. And a scanner is basically you can put an input when you run an application with with scanner in it. You can basically talk with the computer. You can put input. If let's show an example. If I say scanner, this is basically like creating an object. So I have to say scanner, and then I have to say the object name. Let's say I want to call this SC, or let's call it input, right? This can be anything since this is something we are naming. So I'm going to call it input, and then it is going to be equal, and we have to say new scanner. So this is very similar to creating an object like we have done before, right? Word scanner and object name, which is going to be input because I like it, and new scanner. And we have to close it out with parentheses and semicolon. And another important thing is when we use scanner, we have to type in system.in within the parentheses. I would like, if it's possible, I would like you guys to follow me because I don't know if you guys have used scanner yet. This is pretty new stuff. I would like most of you guys to follow it or write the code with me. Because if you guys, yeah, as fine by saying, like if you guys know the constructors, methods, and so on, it's gonna make a lot more sense when you go into other stuff. Because I'm not gonna say that I know objects, constructors, and so on very well by heart. I know it just enough in order for me to go to the next step. But if it's possible, please follow me, guys, and write the code with me. Yeah, we have to import it. I'm gonna show that soon. We have to import class, right? So there are two ways. You can manually type in import, or we can just hover, because scanner is within the library, Java library. We can hover above the scanner. So we have some quick fixes. We could import scanner. So if you click on it, you see it's automatically gonna import it, and it's gonna say import space java.util, basically utilities.scanner, and this means that I can use scanner. Well, let me show you. If I just say import java.util dot, let's see here, java dot, right? So if I say java dot, I have all of these things I can use from the library, and there are a lot of cool stuff. But for our thing, we're going to use just scanner, right? So let's hover above scanner and click on import scanner. So now it is going to enable us to use the scanner. And system in basically means that we are putting something, we are typing something on the keyboard. It's going to show as an input. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's fine by saying. So you guys know how to system out prints out to console. So system in takes it in. Yeah. Okay, so this is not enough. Like we have to, because when we type something in, it can be an integer, it can be a double, it can be a string, and so on. It can be, many different primitive types. So we have to specify that we have to specify what we are going to type in, not what we're going to type in, but what we're going to type in primitive basically. So I want to type in a string value. Okay, so I have to say string. And then I have to give it a name. Let's call it input word. All right. Equals, and this is gonna be equals input. I'm gonna say input because the string I'm gonna put in is has to do with the scanner method. Please correct me, Fahim, if I'm wrong. Okay. Just 1 second. All right, so I think I'm doing it wrong here. Yeah, okay. Input dot. You see, if I say string input word, I'm giving it a new name and equals to input dot. And if I say dot, I get a lot of options like next line, next, to string, and there's other things. Next byte, next double. In our case, we have to say next line. So let's just run this code and let's see what happens. Okay. I'm not sure. Maybe I have to type in sys out. Yeah, okay, I have to type in sys out. All right, so let's type in sys out, okay? I have to have a main. Okay, there we go, sys out. And within sys out, I can say, what is your first name? This can be anything, like this is related to anything that you are creating. But in this case, I want to know the first name. So you're basically going to put in your first name. So sys out, print. And I think this is going to be afterwards. All right, okay. So let's run this, okay? So it is asking me, what is your first name? So now I have the option to put something here, to input something, because I am saying basically input.next line. So if I say Ibrahim, anything, the code has ended because I don't have any next steps. Let's add another one, okay? Let's say sys out. And then I want to know the last name, right? What is your last name? And then I have to specify again that I'm gonna put in a next line. So this is gonna be a string as well. So let's say string input word 2. I'm gonna create a new object basically, and this is gonna be equals to input, because input is our scanner, right? So input dot next line. And if I would say next in instead of line, if I would say next in, it would basically, it's not going to work because this is a string, but this basically means that you're going to have to put in an int value. But in our case, let's say line, and I will showcase an example with in as well. Okay, let's run this and see what happens. If I run this, it is going to say, what is your first name? So I can say anything. I can say Abe, right? And since I have inputted something, this code has run, and it is gonna go to the next line, right? So it is gonna say, what is your last name? And I can put in anything really, anything that is a string or anything, you know, numbers. So that's it. That's it. It's not gonna show me anything because I'm not telling it to show me anything. In order for it to show the values that I have inputted, let's do like this. Let's do another sys out, right? And here I'm gonna say, let's be creative. Hey, and after that I'm gonna put in a plus sign because basically I want to say I'm gonna say input word because I basically want to say hey Ibrahim. If I say Ibrahim, it is gonna say hey Ibrahim. Let's run this and see what happens. What is your first name? Let's enter anything. Ibrahim. What is your last name? Khan. It says hey Ibrahim. it's not going to say can because I haven't specified that yet. I have only said that I want to say hey, and then input word, the first input word. But let's add more. Let's say plus, and then let's say input word 2. And if I run this now, and let's say my name is Ibrahim, and what is your last name? My name Khan, and it's gonna say, hey, Ibrahim Khan. And there is no space in between Ibrahim and Khan because you have to specify that as well. Everything has to be told in Java. So basically, after input word plus, I can just put in what are these called? Quotation marks, right? So this bit in between them. So now if I print this, your first name, Abe Khan. So now it says, hey, Abe, and space Khan. So that's really cool. Like you can really go, you can go really far with this stuff. Actually, I have created something. I just want to show you real quick. This is way ahead, but this is something I have been working on. Basically, what I have done is I have used basically scanner with a bunch of if, else, and this is basically this is kind of like an interview thing. Let's run it and see what happens, right? I'm just gonna run to show you like what the possibilities are. So I have designed it to ask first if it's gonna, you have to specify if you are Mr. or Mrs., right? So let's say I am Mrs. and please enter your first name. So I have to say my first name. Let's say Darth Vader as my first name. And then let's click enter. And I have actually given multiple options. Here it says answer either yes, no, or okay. So basically I can say yes, no, or okay, and I'm basically gonna have different outputs. If I say no, it's gonna say how rude, you're not allowed any further. Please say please. So like you can create so much with this stuff. It's really amazing. I mean, I've just basically learned scanner and if, and with those two things, I have combined and made a whole application basically. So the possibilities are endless. Take this as an inspiration, and Java is so cool, man. Thank you, Feinbei. All right, so that was some basic scanner. Let's create a simple calculator, right? If I'm going too quick, yeah. I basically spent one learning the, like crazy. I spent so much time, and now I'm basically creating my own. So it's not. It might seem like a lot for you guys, but once you know these things, it's gonna be easy. Trust me. Let's make a simple calculator, right? I'm not gonna create a calculator like we have on the computer. I'm gonna create a very simple calculator. But before that, I want to talk about if statements, because the calculator I'm gonna create is gonna contain if. Okay, so now if you have a value, let's see 20, right? So I have basically declared a variable in with value 20. And if I say we have the if loops, we have if, then we have else if and else. So these three things I'm gonna go through. So if I say if, and when we say if, we have to type in parentheses, and let's close it. Let's open it with a bracket and close it off. So this is like how a typical if loop would look like. So we have if, and we have the parentheses if we want to put, if we have like any conditions, and then we can have more things here. Okay, so let's say if, and within parentheses I can say my int is less than 10. And so this is a condition. If my int is less than 10, then it's gonna say something, right? So let's type sysout. And because 20, let's see, if I say cool. So if my int, I think I have to create a main method, right? Yeah, that's what I figured. That's something I miss a lot. Let's see here. There we go. And something really cool I want to show also, Fahim, I think he showed this yesterday, where you can click or somewhere to, instead of right click, go to source and so on, you can just click on Control Shift and then F. Control Shift F. So select everything and then Control Shift F. So this is going to format the code for you very nicely. Like it's very easy for the eyes to see and for everyone else as well. So let's print this and see what happens. I don't need the scanner. Control Shift D, F. Okay, let's run this. Nothing happened, right? If I say 20 is greater than 10 and I run this, let's see what happens. It's gonna say cool, because this statement is true. My int value is 20, and if I say if 20 is greater than 10, system.out.print is gonna say cool. Or let's say instead of cool, yes, true. And we can also have something called else if, and this is basically if the if loop is not valid. Let's say my int is less than 10. So basically 20 is less than 10, which is not true. So it's not going to print out, yes, this is true. In that case, we have to have like kind of like a backup, or we have to have something to fall back on, you know? So I could say else if, and again, I have to put in parentheses and then bracket. And within the parentheses, let's put the condition. My int is greater than 10. So basically I'm saying if 20 is less than 10, print out this. Otherwise, if 20 is greater than 10, print out this. System out. And here I can say, let's do it the other way. It's not true. So let's run this and see what happens, right? So it's gonna say, yes, it is true, because my 20 is greater than 10. But if I would put it like this instead, and run this again, and say no, this is true, because first it goes to the if loop and it's going to check if 20 is less than 10, and it's not going to be true, so it's going to fall back to else if. And you can have a whole lot else ifs. I mean, you can have so many, like you can have a lot more else ifs. But to keep it simple, when you end, if you have like if, else if you want to end this, you have to simply end it with else. This is yeah, I'm gonna add scanner to my calculator. So basically, else is the last. And I don't have to give any condition, because this is if these two are not true, then it's gonna print out something. Let's say that sucks, right? And let's change else ifs to 20, and let's see what happens. It's gonna say that sucks. That's because if and else if none of this is true, so it's gonna fall back to else, which is that sucks. So like this, you can create so much. I will show another example. To keep it very simple, I will go in a bit deep soon. Let's say int age is equal to 20, right? If age is greater than 18, and we have to put the condition within the parentheses, and we have to say brackets. So if age is greater than 18, then I'm gonna print out age is greater than 18. And let's run this and see what happens. Age is greater than 18. I mean, you can do so much with it. Let's, do you want me to show another example before I implement this with scanner? Okay.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so yeah. So yeah, let's just go over the significance, like what should go inside an if parameter, right? Can you put a string value there, or like can you put like integer there? Like what can go inside the if parameters? So that's very important to understand, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we can, can I show an example?
yeah.
Just real quick. Let's create a variable called, let's not create a variable. Let's just go to if right away. So if, and within this, I can say, if I implement this with scanner, basically I can have like a string variable, right? String no, which is gonna be no. This is a variable no. And then if I have a scanner, then I can say basically if let's say I had a scanner, right? I had a scanner with some input line, blah blah, right? So this is gonna say if the input is equals, we can say if we say dot equals, and then within equals we can basically here we can specify with string value. We can say no. So this is basically you're creating a string, or you can just say no, which is the variable no. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah.
I
So
may be wrong.
so the main thing that no, you got the right gist, though. You gave a good example, but the main thing of what goes inside an if parameter are stuff that produces a boolean value, right? That's the primary purpose of if, right? So inside the parentheses, you could only activate that ifs method, right, body, inside that method body, if it's true, if it's like if a true statement, right? So how do you know it's a true statement? You have to give it a like a boolean kind of question or value inside the if parameter, right? So you can't just say if, like if I have a string called name, right? You can't just say if and just name, right? Name is just a string, right? You want to give it a boolean thing, right? So if you say like if name dot contains, right?
Yeah.
If name dot contains whatever, that turns into a boolean result, right? Since contains, it returns a true or false value. So that you guys need to understand what should go inside the if parameter. Thank you.
And I'm also like I think I'm gonna leave the last bit to you. Maybe you can define a lot of things better than I did when I'm done.
Oh no, I'm not perfect.
Because
Okay, whatever.
well,
I'll try my best. Because I felt like I could have make a like a Word document or PowerPoint explaining if, else if, those stuff. So I'll have it ready by tomorrow or Friday. So, but yeah, you can
All right, cool.
I'll just talk about whatever is left, so you can keep on going right now.
Yeah, sure. All right. I wanted to make a simple calculator actually, and now I'm gonna combine scanner and if. All right. And for that, I have to start it off with basically I have to create methods. And in this practice, I'm gonna create methods within my main class. I don't want. I can put it in a different class. I guess it's a good practice to do it, but for simplicity, I'm just gonna put it in the same class because this is just a very simple code. So basically, how do we create methods? We say pub doing a simple calculator. We have to put in int values, addition, subtraction, multiply, division, the simple stuff. And if you guys were focused in class last Saturday, Sunday, I think Mafibai went through something like this. Not the scanner, but like how you can use addition, subtraction, and so on. So let's say public in, and this method is going to be called add or add. And basically within the method's parentheses, I'm going to give it 2 integer values, and I'm going to say int, let's call this value 1, and int value 2, right? So I'm basically saying that within this method I have value 1 and value 2, which is integer. And then I can say return value 1 plus value 2. So whenever I'm going to call this from my main method, it is automatically going to know that this is going to be addition because I have specified in the return, I am saying return value 1 plus value 2. And the computer or Java already knows that this is addition because it's a plus sign. If I would say subtraction, minus, it doesn't matter that it says addition here. It's still gonna be minus because I have put it minus here, subtraction. So let's put it as plus. And just like how I did here, I'm gonna recreate the steps to make subtraction. So we have to say public in. If you guys are doing this with me, that's great. You also create a local variable to return your calculations to. Yeah. Let's say, and we are going to give it the same values as we did in addition, int value 1, int value 2. Yeah, this is basically local variable. So these are local variables to this method. And here I'm gonna say return value 1, and this is gonna be minus because my method name is subtraction. I wanted to have minus, So we're done with subtraction. Let's do the same with multiply. And I just want to mention something like we know how to make getters, setters like automatically, right? You select some variables and then you right-click, go to source, and generate. But I would say that as long as you don't know how to create them manually or typing it in, I would recommend to not use generate. Same thing, when we do main, we type in MA, then control space. I would say don't do it because this is just good practice. Like if you know how to create all of these things by hand, then it's going to make a lot more sense, right? I feel like I have learned a lot more than all right, so int value 1, int value 2. And here I'm going to say return value 1, and this is going to be multiply, right? So I have to say multiply sign and value 2. And Java already knows multiply is already defined by Java library, I think. So that's why it already knows. And let's say public int and division, the last one, okay? And same int value 1, int value 2. And return value 1, and this is going to be divided by value 2. This is just very simple stuff. I want to show you another thing. If I put up the space, and if I say value 1 divided by value 2, this is also going to work. But I put space because it looks more clean, like it's easier to read their code. And also it's easier for someone else to read it. So now we have created our methods, which is addition, subtraction, multiply, division. And I'm going to combine scanner. We're going to be able to put in something like a plus, minus, and so on. So for that, I'm going to have to create a scanner. Let's call this scanner input, right? As we did scanner, and then input, which is the name, and then new scanner. And parentheses, and within parentheses, we have to type in system.in. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Let me import, hover above scanner, and then import. It's still going to be an error because I have to say system in. This is not optional. This is mandatory. System.in. And you see a very good explanation to everything. When I say .in, it shows standard input stream. You can basically read all. All right. And I'm gonna, since I have methods, right, in a class, so I'm gonna have to call the class. You know how we did like home, my home equals to home, a new home. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but now I'm gonna call the class, which is called application, right? Because everything I do in my main class, I wanna be able to call the subtractions, multiply, all of these variables or values. So let's start off with saying application, because that is the class name. And let's call this, yeah, that's good. Okay, math, and then new application. So now basically I have a connection with this main method to the public class application. And now that we have the fundamentals, we can start off by saying sys out, because now we're gonna want to be able to, you know, type in something. So let's say here, enter first number. And in order for you to enter any number or anything at all, we have to specify that again. So you remember how I did string input equals to input dot, something like that? Instead, now I'm going to say int, because I'm going to put in an int value in the command box, basically. So int, and let's call this num1, because this is the first number I want to put in. You can call this anything. You can call this number one, as long as you understand it, as long as it makes sense to you. Just name it anything. And we're going to have to specify again with input. And I'm saying input because I have created a scanner with that has a name of input. So I have to say input dot. And you know how I said next line? Instead, I'm going to have to say next int, because the next thing I'm going to type in is going to be an integer value. And let's just run this code very simply and see. Change the division to double. Okay, let's try that. I haven't tried that. Let's see what happens. And this as well, right? Double, double. Let's see. It's saying enter to next line of code. So let's say sys out again, because now I want to enter the second number, right? And in order for me to enter the second number, I have to do the exact same thing as I did with here, int num1 equals to input dot next int. Instead, I'm gonna say int num2 equals to input dot next int. And the reason why I don't put num1, I can say num1, but it's already created, so it's not gonna work, right? So that's why I have to give it a different name. So now basically you are able to input 2 integer values, but it's not going to do anything yet. Enter first name. If I run the code, it says enter first name. Let's say 2. Now when I typed in 2 and pressed enter, it's going to say enter second number, because that's basically the next line of code after the input. So now I can input something here, but it's not going to show me anything because, as I said before, I don't have a new line to go to. And this is actually where I'm going to implement if loops, or if else if. I feel like that I should have gone through if a bit more, because this is about to get a bit complicated. But just bear with me, and if you guys have any questions, let's figure it out. Before I do that, let's say let's do a sysout again, and the computer isn't gonna know if you say and 2, it's not gonna know if it's plus, minus, division, multiplication. So we can specify that. If we say system.out and then we say enter operation plus, minus, this is just a string that I'm saying that you have to perform something, right? So I'm telling you to enter any of these. But in order for you to enter any of these, I mean, this is basically a string, right? Plus, minus, this is a string. So I can, you know how I said int num2 equals to input the next int? Instead of int, I can use string, because it's a string value. So string, let's call this operation, because we're dealing with plus, minus, and I don't want to confuse everything, because we have num1, num2. So let's just keep it simple and say string operation equals to, and we have to say input, because input is our scanner, input dot, and since we're using string, we have to say next line. Now we're gonna be value. And okay, let's just run this first. Let's run the application. Enter the first name, 1. Let's say 2. Enter the second name. Let's say 4. Now it says enter operation. So this is where I put I can put in anything. You know, I can put anything plus, minus, but it's not gonna work. Designed to work if only these things are entered, right? So let's use if, okay? You know how I said if age is less than some value, or if int is greater than some value, we're gonna do the exact same thing. Instead, we're gonna say if, and because we're saying string operation, we're gonna have to say if operation dot, and when you say dot, you remember where Fahim said we can say contains, but in this case we're gonna say equals, because whatever I put in, it's gonna have to be equals, plus, minus, or any of those things, right? So I'm saying if operation is equals, one important thing to remember, we cannot say operation equals, like, you know, the equal signs. We work with integer, I don't remember exactly, but in this case, we're gonna have to say operation dot equals. And I'm saying operation because you guys know that, right? Because I have specified that this string is called operation. So if operation equals to, let's say plus, I'm gonna put it as a string value. So if operation equals to this plus, if I enter plus, then it's gonna do something, right? And then we're gonna put the curly brackets as I showed you. And here we can say sys out again. And basically in this system out, we have to specify that it's basically the same thing as we did. You know, if I say house, my house, we say, you know, my house dot. In this case, instead of saying my house, because I have sorry, my audio connection got lost. You guys know how I said application math, right? So math is kind of you know, the link or the connection to the application class. So I have to say math dot. If I say dot, I get all of these things, you know, addition, division, which basically is a method in the application class. So I'm gonna say math dot, because we're dealing with plus, I'm gonna say addition. And let's see here, what is the error? All right, yeah, num1, num2. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because I said it's num1 and num2. Thank you. See, I mean, coding gets confusing a lot of times. So we have to say num1 and num2, because we have specified that in num1 and in num2. So we're gonna add the input num1 and input num2 together with addition, basically. So this is basically gonna, let's run this code and see what happens, right? Enter first number, and let's say that I wanna say 2, and the second number is 2 as well. Enter operation. Okay, the code ended there. Okay, let's just finish the code, or wait. I'm not exactly sure why it ended. What if I create a new scanner? Let's see what happens. Just a second, guy. I'm just gonna check if I'm doing this right. Then I will explain what I'm doing. 2 plus. Okay, yeah. It didn't work because I had to specify with another scanner, which I created a new scanner basically called input2. And I'm using input in the integer value. So I created a new scanner called input2. So I'm saying string operation is equals to input2. I don't know if this makes sense for you guys. It may be a lot to take in right now, but if you guys are following me, or if you guys are taking a screenshot, you can practice this later on, because we have to advance, because the classes is just going to get more and more complicated. Okay, so I have created if for the addition. So now I have to create for the subtraction as well. I have subtraction, multiply, division. So we're gonna do the same thing. You remember what I said? If this doesn't work, then we have to go to else if. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna say else if, and within else if, the parentheses, we have to put the condition. And the condition was, we can just basically follow the step as we did in if. I can say operation dot, and it is gonna be equals, and I'm gonna say minus. So basically, if I put in the minus, where it says enter operation, if I say minus, then it's gonna do something, right? So let's open a bracket and close it, and let's do a sys out again. Or actually, let's just copy this line and let's paste it in, and let's just replace addition with subtraction. So like, if you have one line of code and the other codes are very similar, you can basically copy as long as you understand. So let's just copy. I'm gonna have another else if, because I have multiply. So I'm gonna copy this and then paste. In minus, I'm just gonna do multiply. And in math dot subtraction, I'm just gonna say math dot multiply, because I have multiply as a method in my application class, right? And now we only have one left, right? So we're gonna have to use else. So this is the end, and we don't have to put any condition within parentheses, because this is the last backup, last thing it will fall back to. So we have to say else. And here I can sys out. I forgot to do the division, right? Okay, so let me do that. Let me copy the else if and paste, and just replace this with division, and replace multiply with division. That's simple. So basically it's gonna say if I enter plus, then it's gonna add two numbers. If I don't enter plus, if I enter subtraction, it's basically gonna subtract two numbers. Or else if it's gonna multiply two numbers. If that's not the thing I entered, if I enter division, this division, then it's gonna divide the two values. And if I don't enter any of this above, I can say else. This is kind of like the last fallback. I can say you've entered invalid operation. So we have basically created a very simple calculator with some input and output. So I have created a class, and within this class I have created some methods, and I am basically calling the methods in the main. Let's see, we can use switch. Yeah, I haven't gone through the switch yet. That's something new as well. So basically I am accessing the methods with this application math, and I have created some scanners in order for me to put some input, and then I have created some if conditions. Basically, if I put in plus, then it's going to do this. Otherwise, if I put in minus, it's going to do this. Or if none above, then it's going to say you've entered an invalid operation. So let's run this application and see what happens. If I run this, enter first number. Let's put 40, right? And the second number could be anything. Let's say 32. Or let's keep it simple, 10. And here I can enter operation. You remember where I said if I don't put any of these operations, it's gonna say you've entered an invalid operation. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say haha, I'm joking. So this is not plus, minus, division, or multiply. So if I say ha, I'm joking, and then I put enter, it's gonna say you've entered invalid operation. Let's run it again, and let's put a valid operation. Enter first number, 10. Enter second number, 10. Enter operation, let's say plus. It's gonna say 20. Let's see, we used the double, right? We used double for division. Let's try the division, right? So let's run it again. And this time I'm gonna say 10, enter the second number, 20, and let's divide this. You see it says 0.5. If I wouldn't have used division as Moses said, if I would just use int in my division, it would just say probably 0, because integer doesn't count or doesn't see the other, the other part. It just see, as it's gonna only see the 0, right? So that's basically it. We have created our very simple calculator. Let's put another number to see what happens. 67, 674. Second number, 5. Thank you, Fahim. Thank you so much. 564. And let's multiply this. This is a bit tricky. You see here where it says else if operation equals to the multiply sign. Like if I would put x, because I have said, yeah, double is the default floating point. Yeah, if I would say x, this is not gonna work. I would have to say like this, and that's the result. Did everyone get this? Like, I know I went through a lot of new stuff. I see a lot of people leaving as well. I don't know why. Maybe it's late or whatnot. But does this make sense? Yeah, I mean, Java is so much fun, As long as you know the basics, you can do anything. As I showed, like in my main application, this I didn't create this from some website. Actually, I just learned what if does and what scanner does, and I looked at like maximum 2 or 3 examples online, and then I just basically worked my way through it. Trial and error. Yeah. Fine, but I think I've gone through the most what I wanted to cover. I don't know if you want us like talk about something.
Um, yeah, I think if I introduce for loops and those stuff, it'll be too much for today.
Yeah.
So, well, what we covered today, what you guys covered today, was pretty good. Um, Moses said, "Did you go over string API?" So, let's go an example of how to look for an API. First of all, I want to ask you guys, like, what Mr. Mafi is going to show next weekend, right? So he's going to show a demo, basically of um, he's gonna use an API of a text messaging service, right? So that text messaging service, whatever company that is, I forgot, they have their own API, and inside that, and with that API, Mr. Mafi by, he will just write it inside his code, and just from running the application in the code, it's gonna send you a text message. So if I were to put my phone number there inside the code, and I use that class's API and functions and whatever, it will send me a text message saying, and it will be whatever that message is. So that's very cool to understand. There's so many APIs out there in Java that have their own purpose and whatnot. But in order to understand more about APIs, you guys need to understand the basics first, right? You guys need to understand what are methods. You guys need to understand how to access those methods, right? You guys, so basically, you guys need to learn about objects and classes, right? What is Java? Java is all about objects and classes. These APIs, these are just packages of classes, right? So you guys need to understand the ABCs first in order to create words. So we won't be able to do that much Java stuff if you guys are like still like in like you guys are still struggling behind. So it's like just put in time and effort, learn these stuff. Um, Ibrahim is a very good example, right? I think he was doing this by himself. Like the first day of Selenium class, right? uh, he didn't know any of these stuff, right? But he just put
Yeah.
in time and effort. And right now, he just showed you guys a really good demonstration, right? So he learned this all from himself. It depends on how much effort you put into this. And I said it in the Google Hangouts, right? You guys are basically paying 4K for this course, right? For this batch, and you guys are also devoting like 4 months of your life into this, right? So far, 2 months have passed by, so we're just thinking of it as an investment. You're just investing 2 more months of your life to possibly get a job, 80K or like six figures, right? So you guys just need to sacrifice 2 more months, and then good things will happen. If you guys are still like in part time or full time jobs right now, it'll be really hard for you guys. Um, I mean, it's still possible, but the chances are that you'll fall behind and you won't be able to like grasp the concepts and whatever. So it's very important you guys are, giving yourselves time to learn this. This course, the Java part, is only 5 weeks. We've gone over only 1 week so far, right? Uh, if you're in week 3, right, of Java, and you guys are still struggling from something from week 1, you guys, the rest of the course is gonna be null. You guys are gonna like you guys it's going to be very difficult to understand what's going on. You guys won't know what's happening. So it's very important. If you're still stuck right now, I'll suggest before heading into the weekend, just go, just read the Java book and go to YouTube tutorials and whatnot, and just practice how to create a class and object. Practice everything yourself. So that's what all I had to say.
Yeah. Can I just add something
Yeah,
to
sure.
that? So thank you. As you said, basically, like a lot of people think, in class I have some prior experience of programming, and that's not true. Like I did some programming in college, which was like 5 years ago, and back then I had no intention of learning anything. Like back then I was just like, okay, I'm going to school because I have to. And I've done like I think almost 150, because now it's getting more complicated. Like I cannot go to the next code lab until I understand the previous one. But basically, I had no prior knowledge. I've done some programming in college, but that was like 5 years ago, and I don't have. I have just spent a lot of time practicing. Like honestly, I'm not praising myself or anything. I'm just telling you because I want everyone to advance as well, because I feel like Fahim wants this as well, because Fahim helps you guys so much, yeah, to go further, because it is so important. Um, Basically, I don't work. That's a benefit for me. Maybe if you work, that's bad. You have to figure out time. But if you don't work, or if you work part-time, like spend all the time you have to study. Like I don't take this for granted. I am basically studying minimum 6 hours a day, minimum, because I feel like, okay, I have a chance to do something here, and this is something that you guys should feel as well. And just understand the basics, and you'll be able to do endless things. I mean, there's so much thing you can do. I just want to give you a couple of tips on how I advanced. I just basically went to Google and I look for simple Java codes. I look at other people's codes and I try to understand them. Like I don't necessarily go and go to Google. What is string? First I look at a very simple code, a very simple thing, and I try to understand that part by part. I implement that code myself, and so on. There are so many ways to practice. So I mean, I would just say, if you guys really want this, then do it by heart. Really do it. Spend a lot of time studying. That's the only key to success, because study is the only way you can succeed. That's just all I wanted to add, kind of like a motivational speech.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's all about how much effort and time you put in. That's even those two people that came like a week ago from their jobs, and they're talking about their career paths. They're basically saying how you need to put in a lot of times, right? Attend mentorings, right? Attend mentoring sessions, right? Do your code labs and all those stuff. Those things help.
Yeah.
Also, a quick tip, right? Um, I would suggest you guys learn how to Google. Like, I'm not saying this as in an offensive way, right? I'm saying is like this will help you while you're in your job, like in case you meet something new, right? If you know how to Google answers, that will help you. That will help you in your workspace and learning right now. So if you have an error in your Eclipse, right? Like you wouldn't go to Google and say my Eclipse not working, right? You would probably get that error from your Eclipse and you would copy and paste it into Google, right? And you would just type in that whatever that error and just say Eclipse error, and more than likely there will be um, results about that error, and then it's your job to like go inside that link and try and like see what's the issue and whatnot. So that's just an example of how to Google. All right. So once again, I would like to thank Saha and Ibrahim for mentoring today. Um, it's 10 o'clock now. I don't like having different schedules every day, so I'd rather start in a set schedule. So like 6:30 was like would be fine. But we're starting 6 o'clock tomorrow, and supposedly ending at 9. We could go up to 9:30, latest possible. Plus, I'm going to be introducing object-oriented programming concepts tomorrow, and that's what's going to be taught this weekend. So I'll try to make a presentation about that. I don't know. I'll see. Any questions for today's mentoring? Let us know. Ibrahim or Sahal, let them know, or me. You guys have any questions about today's mentoring? If not, the second part of this mentoring, the one that Ibrahim covered, specifically the scanner and the if else stuff, will be uploaded to YouTube in around like before 2 o'clock a.m. It will be in the Dropbox folder. So Ibrahim, can you show them where you would find it, right?
So basically, go to Dropbox. And then we have the Selenium July 2017, right? And here we have a mentoring. Okay, I have a problem with my connection. Okay, Selenium July, and then go to the mentoring folder. And then we have a folder called videos. We have also something called notes, like all the notes Fahim Bai has done and the PowerPoint presentation, but in videos. Like here, it is organized like week 1, to July 24th to July 28th. We have basically these text files with YouTube links in them. So it's 2nd, right? 2nd August. So I think it will be in that folder if it comes. Yeah, I'm having problem with my Dropbox, but basically Selenium July, within that go to mentoring folder and then go to videos and then navigate to the current date or week.
Yeah. So that's where the videos will be posted. Any other questions, guys? If not, that'll be it for tonight's session. Alright. Alright, so I guess that'll be it for tonight. Thank you to Saha and Ibrahim. Yeah, the video is gonna be the second part. Someone else I think someone else recorded the whole thing as well. So if they did, can you please let us know in the Hangouts? Alright, so thank you to our 2 mentors today. Good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.